Hello, and welcome to the Sharper Shiv podcast. I am your host, Shiv Reddy. We are finally in week three. I am super excited for this week. I was looking at these spreads probably as soon as kickoff happened last week, and I was liking what I was seeing. And it is officially dog week. Dog week is upon us, and we are ready to go. I'm going to do things a little bit differently here, and I'm going to actually not break down the Bengals and Jets. The Bengals and Jets game had no appeal to me after I was looking at the spread. Sorry to all the Instagram posts and the following. I know that you guys all want to bet the Jets, see what the Jets have. I still think it's a good number here. I haven't seen much out of Joe Burrow, but it scares me a little bit because of what I saw yesterday from these Thursday teams. These offenses look like they're finally in rhythm after 3 weeks of starting the season, and I don't know. I don't know what to expect. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. I mean, the weapons are still there. I think Joe Burrow gets the ball out a little bit quicker, but it's betting on Flacco, and it's always a roller coaster ride. It was definitely for me in week 2, But I'm going to do things again a little bit differently here. I am actually going to give you guys out my 5 picks on this podcast today. I'm going to give you a quick excerpt of each game that I think would be meaningful for you guys, and then we can go from there. So let's get started. Okay, the first game on my docket was the Indianapolis Colts against the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Colts Chiefs game was an interesting one. I mean, the spread really came down from the 3 key number all the way down to 6.5 at some point on Tuesday. I took that 6.5, and it's now back up to 5.5. I really like the 5.5 still. I think this Colts team can really turn it around, especially from last week. They were missing a lot of key weapons. They were missing Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce from the receiving corps, and I think that some of the defensive injuries, there were questionable players that were playing that were still hurt. But that injury report is a lot better this week, and some of those injured key players on the defensive line are back, like DeForest Buckner, and the only concern is Shaq Leonard. Shaq Leonard again hasn't played in this season, at least after going through a mild back surgery that he had this off season. But he is going to probably look to go next week. But I like this Colts team still. I think the Chiefs secondary still has some issues. Young players always play better at home, which they did on Thursday night, and don't let this confuse you. Everyone says Andy Reid is the best off of a bye. He is actually only 5-5 out of the mini buys from Thursday night games since the beginning of the season. So don't let it fool you. Again, 5-5 record, and that is just winning outright, and they've been favored in a lot of games. So I haven't got into the details about the spread, but I like that stat, and I like the Colts in this matchup, especially coming home after playing 2 road games. Next up, we have the New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens. So New England Patriots ranked as the top 5 offensive line in the past 2 weeks, and their run blocking and pass blocking is ranked in the top 3. That says a lot, especially for this New England team that's faced Pittsburgh the week before with the great pass rush that they have, and they've also faced the Dolphins, who is an improved fast defense. Baltimore is actually giving up the most explosive plays. Obviously, that is a little bit skewed against that Miami team that has so many weapons. But even to the Jets, they gave up a lot of yardage to Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco threw for over 300 yards in that game in week 1. And this Baltimore defense doesn't look as good as their offense does. Their offense does look a little bit better. Lamar Jackson staying in the pocket a little bit more and getting his receivers involved. But still, I think the Belichick's going to have a plan for Lamar here, just like he did 2 years ago when the Ravens went in as 6-point favorites and they lost outright to the Patriots. So I like the Patriots in this one. I think that their offense holds up. I think as you saw this week, I think the offense gets some rhythm to it, and Patricia has deep play calling sheet now, and I think that he's ready to go. And I think this Patriots crowd's going to be fired up after not playing a home game yet, and I think that goes into advantage here. So let's take the Patriots plus 2.5 here. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams go into Arizona here, 100-degree weather. I think the rafters will be open. They usually open them around this time. Being in Arizona, I can tell you all the feedback and the news from that. But this team, the Los Angeles Rams, look like they lost a step from their Super Bowl run. I think they're a lot slower. The defense isn't playing as well. I think Raheem Morris could be on the hot seat come later in the season. And they did also lose 2 big-size cornerbacks to the injury report this week. So I think Greg Dortch, Marquise Brown, and AJ Green are going to get theirs, especially Zach Ertz through the middle of the field. You know that the Cardinals like to play that 4-receiver split with Zach Ertz being that 4th receiver. So I think that Kyler Murray has some success here, and this defense doesn't look as good as it should be, and I think Aaron Donald has definitely lost a step here. But this offensive line looks good, and the defensive line definitely looks good for the Arizona Cardinals. Gardeck, J.J. Watt, and Zach Allen have rated the top 3 on a team for best defensive linemen throughout the season so far, which is great. I mean, the sample size is small, but that's always good to have on your side. And they get some key players back in Trayvon Mullen to man up that corner spot and put Byron Murphy in the slot against Cooper Kupp. So I like the Cardinals in this matchup, plus 3.5 as home dogs. Next up, I am going to go with the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta comes into Seattle. This is more of a get a good investment on the Seahawks if you can. The spread is definitely altered from how Atlanta's played the past couple of weeks. I think that the Seahawks have a great home field advantage with the 12s up there in Seattle, and I think that Geno gets the ball going downfield a little bit. Pete Carroll was talking a lot about that throughout this week, and I think DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett get unleashed here. Casey Hayward has not played good defensively, and there's a lot of corners on that team that haven't played good defensively at all. So I'm looking at this team, and I'm thinking that Mykal Walker is probably the best coverage player on this team right now, and that says a lot, especially that he's a linebacker. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. I think Geno is the better quarterback than Marcus Mariota. I think Mariota is going to struggle. Again, these Seattle cornerbacks come up on run defense more than anybody in the league, and you could see that by watching film and all that. So I like the Seahawks in this position, and I think that Atlanta's going to try to establish that run. They're not going to be successful, and then it's going to force Marcus Mariota to sit in the pocket. They can get some pass rush in there, especially with a below average offensive line that has played very well, but I think this is a spot where you can see a lot of penalties, a lot of false starts, etc. from this Atlanta Falcons team that will put them in a impossible down and distance. So I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks. This is a home play, and this is a value play, so nothing really capped here except for those tidbits that I shared with you, but I like the Seahawks in this position. And last but not least, let's go with the night game. San Francisco 49ers go into Denver. Denver gets a lot of key players back here. They get Jerry Jeudy back from injury. He left early week 2. They get Patrick Surtain back as well. He is questionable, but he is going to play. And I want to highlight this injury because I think that this injury has been really taking a detriment on the Denver defense since he's been out last year. But Josie Jewell is finally back, and he was rated one of the best coverage linebackers, and he does play that Mike spot for Denver. So this Denver Broncos defense is going to show up, I think, and I think that Jimmy still needs a couple of weeks to practice, and they're going to try to establish the run game, but Denver has played the run very well this year. So I like Russ. I'm taking the better quarterback here. Russ is definitely better than Jimmy. I know everyone's on the Jimmy hype train, but this is purely a play that I think Hackett and Russ get it together. I think they've seen a lot of film. They probably went back and really dissected that after the win with Houston. So they come away with wins. So I think that the Denver Broncos have a good position being home underdogs, especially in the altitude in September. So I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos at +1.5. And my banger best bet, I am going to go with the New England Patriots +2.5. Take them on the money line. It's good value. I think the Patriots show up here, and I think they turn a lot of heads for next week. So there you have it, Sharper Shiv. Best bets. Change it up a little bit, but again, banger best bet, New England Patriots +2.5.